Welcome to Billionaire Business. My name's Ian Fishwick. I'm a serial entrepreneur in the UK IT and telecoms industry. I had the honour of being named UK Chief Exec of the Year on 3 occasions.
And I'm Chris Godsmark, and for the last 20 years I've been advising on mergers, acquisitions, fundraisings, IPOs, some of them with valuations of £1 billion and more.
You cut your hair off, you went orange, then you went grey, then you took your makeup off, then you had a tattoo.
3.
Then the girls came home and you were boiling chicken's feet and pig trotters in the kitchen.
You got it.
What did the girls say?
Do you know what, Mum? I'm going to take that to my lab to make sure you don't kill your friends. Because I've got all my friends. Seriously, I found recently...
Good start.
I know. I found recently the document that I got all my friends to sign that if I killed them, it's your choice, crazy.
And I'm assuming you'd never had a business and you're not a spreadsheet person, is that fair to say?
I am so not. Spreadsheets give me headaches.
One of the things that's becoming clear as we do more and more of these interviews is that they're all different. If anybody thinks that you're watching this because business is some kind of formula and we're going to show you what it is and if you do it, it all works, it's just not like that, right? And the story we're going to share with you today is very definitely in the different category. This is an absolutely inspirational story, so it's an absolute pleasure to welcome Maxine Laceby from Absolute Collagen. Lovely to see you.
Lovely to see you too, and thank you so much for having me, guys. I'm excited to be here.
Maxine,
Yes.
what is Absolute Collagen for people who have not already signed up and subscribed?
So Absolute Collagen is a liquid collagen supplement that you ingest on a daily basis.
And what does it do?
So you're about 70% collagen, your whole body. So when you get to about 25, your collagen levels start depleting. So you have to put it back in. So it's good for hair, skin, nails, joints, ligaments, leaky gut. It's good for so much. We are already collagen. It just depletes and when you need to put it back in.
Okay, right. Got the hang of what it is now. Let's go right back to the start. Okay, because the bit about how you got into this is a bit of a different story. So let me take you right back to the beginning.
Yeah, it's a crazy story, really. Do you want to hear the university bit?
Go for it.
Okay, so I got to 49. My eldest daughter's going to uni. Youngest daughter had just passed a test, and I was celebrating.
So you stopped being a taxi.
Stop being everything. I know. I just felt like it was my time. I found it really liberating, and I'd always been interested in art. I never had a degree. Never had opportunity to have that, and I just thought I'm going to do a fine art degree. And in the first year, the very first project was called Dare to Go Bare, because you can choose your own sort of stuff in contemporary art. And I decided to strip myself bare of makeup, let my hair go grey, had it all cut really short, wore really, really dowdy clothes. I did that for a period of 4 months. And the whole kind of project was, as a woman of a certain age, would I disappear in people's vision if I did that? And actually, I disappeared in my own vision. Like, big time. And it terrified me. And so I looked at myself as a whole, and very long story short, I started looking at what I was putting in my body. So I started making and drinking my own bone broth. So I was cooking up bones in my kitchen 400 years ago. They'd dunked me in the local pond.
Hang on a minute. Okay. Now, when I had a midlife crisis, I bought a fast car, and it was a nice red one
I did that.
he's seen. Yeah. So you cut your hair off, you went orange, then you went grey, then you took your makeup off, then you had a tattoo.
3.
Then the girls came home and you were boiling chicken's feet and pig trotters in the kitchen.
You got it.
What did the girls say?
They're kind of used to me. I am a bit crazy. I cannot walk across an empty room without getting inspired by something. I do think that's part of ADHD. I see an opportunity in everything. I'm pretty fearless. If I want something doing, I do it. Growing up, there was nobody to do stuff. If you wanted stuff doing, you had to do it. And so I'm very much a doer, and they are used to it, believe it or not. They're just like, oh, yeah, well, that's mum.
But you were restless, really. I mean, you wanted
always restless.
You got to a point where you wanted to do another phase in your life, and you were sort of searching for... Were you searching for a business at that point?
No.
Or just a different lifestyle?
I just was searching for Maxine. That's what I was searching for, but didn't know I was searching for Maxine. So I always say that I'd always been somebody else for so many people. And I'm adopted. I don't know if it comes from that, being a mum or whatever. Every morning I'd wake up, who does everybody need me to be today? And I'm sure it's when you've got a family, or a business, right? That's what it is. And I didn't have to do that anymore. I was single. I just thought, this is my time. And it's really funny whenever I give somebody a yellow sachet, because Absolute Collagen's in a yellow sachet, I feel like I'm giving them their spotlight so they can see themselves, because that was my journey. So my art project allowed me to look with great humility into my spotlight and go, oh my God, look at me. I am relevant.
So how did you get obsessed with bone broth? I mean,
Yeah.
what happened?
So again, I am not a cook. I can cook. You can get 50 people around my house. I'll do them a right meal. I'm brilliant. I just don't enjoy it. It's not fun. I got far much more. Even buying the shopping list, I'm bored. Done. Right. But I've always known how to make gravy. I've always known how to make a jus. So when I was reading that people in America 10 years ago were drinking bone broth, I was like, well, I can make that, because that's just like how you make a gravy. So I started making it and drinking it. And then whenever I let it go cold, so you boil a big vat and then you let it go for hours. It sort of stew goes down to you're left with this jus, which is your gravy, your basic gravy. And then whenever
and it's got the film on top.
Yeah, as a
Yeah.
film. So if you do it correctly, that film is not fat. That film is collagen. So there is a difference. So
How did you know that?
well, at that point, I didn't. I just knew whenever I boiled it correctly, so for vast, all day, simmering, so the fat take the bit of the fat off, you're left, whenever it went cold, a jelly would form. And I was like, what is that jelly? And now I do think this is part of being ADHD. I do think it's about being solution focused. I do think it's my upbringing where I had to get stuff done. And I will find out. Like, if I want to get from A to Z, and I have to zigzag I will beyond all get there. So I was like, what is that jelly? Something was telling me it was the jelly. Darcy, my eldest daughter, who was doing psychology, switched at the last moment to do food science.
This is at uni.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So there was no correlation. We started at the same time. There was no correlation about collagen or anything. And then she was like, do you know what, Mum? I'm going to take that to my lab to make sure you don't kill your friends. Because I've got all my friends... Seriously, I found recently...
Good start.
I know. I found recently the document that I got all my friends to sign that if I killed them, it's your choice, crazy. And that's how it started. And then Darcy came back and we looked at what the jelly was, and the jelly was collagen. And that really is a very, very simple story to how Absolute Collagen started.
And I'm assuming you'd never had a business.
Nope.
And you're not a spreadsheet person, is that fair to say?
I am so not. Spreadsheets give me headaches. I have to really focus and concentrate.
So how did the business start then, in that case?
Yeah, so I guess it had a purpose. The business started with a purpose. And the purpose. So first of all, it started with the product, right? I knew whatever this was, it was working, because me and my friends were getting results from it. And I was like, right, that it's working. It was never about creating a business. I've always had business ideas. When I was 23, I went to a solicitor in Bath and said, I want to paint on this. I want to bring this business idea out that, I want if someone comes into my house and I don't know, they've knocked on the door, I don't know they've been, but I know if they phone me. So I want to invent an intercom for a front door. I invented the Ring doorbell, but did nothing with it when I was 23 because it was too much. So I've always been like that. And so, it was the purpose. And it was like, I looked up at what was already out there. There was a couple of skin supplements, but they're very, very expensive, came in large volume, needed keeping in the fridge. And there's so many ingredients in. I knew the hero ingredient was the collagen. So I said, what do me and my friends want? We wanted the maximum of the good stuff in the minimum dose. We wanted it ready mixed, wanted it so it didn't have to be kept in the fridge. It could be kept on the go, taken on the go. And I created that for me and my friends. And that really, so we started with the purpose. I think the product came first by default, then the purpose, and then the consumer.
There's loads of people have good ideas and good products, but they never sell anything, right? So how did you suddenly get everybody interested to try and buy this thing? Did you try retail first, or what?
Nope.
What happened?
So if we go back, the website was built. So this is all in 2015. So then I got the website built 2016. It went live December 2016. We tested it, and then 2017 was the official launch. And so it was quite a while ago. There was not many direct-to-consumer brands. It was all still retail. There was a few.
Yeah.
I was told I needed to be in retail. I needed to back in big brand. I was like, do you know what? I want to look after her because she is my North Star. And I never want her let down.
She being the mythical customer.
I mean the absoluter, the North Star. And I was the only person that could do that properly. And I don't mean that arrogantly. I knew I'd look after her. I knew I could educate her. It was a new market. I knew I could look after every single step of her journey. And so that was what it was all about. So I had to deal with her direct. Going into retail would have put something in between me and her.
But nobody had heard of you.
No, not at all.
So how did you get well known?
Do you know, I think there was some luck in that, in that no one had heard of us. Everybody gave us a wide berth. Literally, they were like, whoa, she's crazy. Give her, and they still do that now. Give her a wide berth. She's come with this formula in her kitchen. She's feeding it to people. What's collagen anyway? And Jesus, she's going direct to market. I mean, who does she think she is? Like, she's crazy. And so we went under the radar. And I think, so I'm the crazy one in the family, foot to the pedal, right, and I will never change. I might slow down a little bit. Everyone's accepted it. I've accepted it now. It took me a while. Darcy, my eldest daughter, is the one coming up the dustpan and brush going, God, what's she doing? Let's make sure we're all, okay. And Margot just gets on with it. So there's three of us. And it was literally just making sure we always did the right thing. We'd never run a business before, so I knew I could never cut corners. My family were involved. I didn't want to cut corners. So my ex-husband, I will thank him for this, taught me never cut corners and always do things properly. Because my parents didn't teach me that. Not because they were crooks or anything, but they never had the opportunity to do anything, But he taught me, and I took that forward. So everything we did absolutely spot on. That included phoning up food standards and saying, I want to bring this food supplement out. I don't know what I'm doing. Can you help me, please? And keep asking. And then creating the website, bringing great people in that would strengthen my weaknesses.
So how did you get into social media? Because nobody was really doing it at that point.
So again, this sounds absolutely crazy. Website went live, nothing happened. I was like, why is nothing happening? Well, you've got to do a bit of digital marketing, Maxine. Oh, okay. So I then looked around for digital marketers. This is crazy to think end of 2016, early 2017, there was very few. Can you believe that? I found a couple that I thought I liked the look of. Google did loads of research on them, and that's something I do a lot.
Yeah.
I've already researched you guys. And I found this one particular woman. I thought, I like what she stands for. Something about her I like. Went to see her do this big talk in London, 500 people in the room. She did a talk. She says, anyone got any questions? I went, yep. Are you taking on any more clients? She went, no. I did not leave her alone. She calls me today, the woman with the yellow box. I hounded her. I knew I wanted to work with her. And she came on board. We still work with her today. And I suppose the thing when you bring somebody on board, and the thing I think I'm absolutely brilliant at is I read people incredibly well. And that might sound really fluffy. I'm such a good judge of character. And
but you found good people, which is really hard to do.
Incredible
really
people,
hard to do.
And gave them the reins.
So it started to take off then.
Yeah.
And you were still, I suppose, in the garage by then.
Yeah,
right.
on my house.
But when it starts to grow, you need some money.
Yeah.
So, did you sell stuff? Did you remortgage your house? What did you do?
All of the above. So, the first batch of collagen we bought, I didn't sell it in time because I had no digital marketeer. And we threw it away. And there was a minimum run, so that was a waste of money. I sat the girls down, my two children, because they're always my. If they give them the green light on anything, I'm fine. I only need to please them in life. Now it's the absoluters, but before then, I only got to please my two girls. Yeah. If they say okay, I'm happy. So I sat them down. And I said, right, I need money. We need money. I'm thinking about.
It's not scary because I remortgaged my house for a business, and with a family. Looking back, I was a bit nervous about that.
Do you know, I get asked this question a lot. I have this really I don't fear fear. It's a bit weird, actually. There's always a what if this doesn't work, right?
Yep.
But you weigh the consequences up. So for me, and you probably did that when you did yours, I thought, okay, if this doesn't work, we'll have to sell the house, buy a smaller house, right? Is that a problem? How many bedrooms do you want? It's fine. And so you weigh up the consequences. And I'd done that. And I borrowed money from a friend. And
how much capital in total are you able to say?
£249,000.
Which is a lot of money to
over
find,
the
isn't
first
it?
year, yeah.
In a year.
And with digital marketing, as you guys know, the return doesn't come straight away. It's all about brand building, it's the story, and it's just keep putting money in, keep putting money in, keep money in. But we did grow fast.
The revenue scaled up quite fast, didn't they? I mean, in 2 to 3 years, where did you get to in terms of your turnover?
So the first year was 420,000.
Which is very good.
2.5 million, 4 million, 8 million.
And are you
Crazy.
still at the house at this point? At what point did you say, my house can't cope with this, I've got to move it at the garage?
I loved working from home, So this is obviously before lockdown, and I loved it. It was hilarious. So my bedroom's on the ground floor, and Darcy and Margot were upstairs, and I wish I could do this now. I probably could, actually. There's nothing better than going back to bed with a cup of coffee in the morning and checking your emails in bed, right? I used to love doing that. I did it this morning in the hotel, actually. I think it's lovely. And then Darcy would get into my bed and we'd just discuss what we're going to do today. And hilariously, that was one of our very first creatives. And Darcy's friends would go, do you sleep with your mum? That's really weird. Like, no, I don't. So the house, we were sending at one point about 5,000 parcels a month for a week from our house.
A week.
I've got a really steep drive, right?
And you were doing that with Royal Mail or something, right?
Oh, Royal Mail loved it. They loved us, Royal Mail. So I've got a really steep drive, and I wish I had a photograph, and I haven't. On a Saturday morning, pallet truck would come, right? And they'd come at the top of the drive, pallet line. They refused to bring it down because it was very steep. I bought a pallet truck. Worked in a factory for years. I can use a pallet truck when I was young. I used to go out, my dressing gown. I'd go to the top of the drive and I would bring this pallet, which is really heavy, of the collagen that we'd made, down the drive. Darcy and Margot would be holding the pallet to make sure it didn't crash into the house. Those days are great fun.
So let's just go back to, how do you manufacture collagen? Where do you get it from?
So we buy things. So when I first started, sourced the ingredients, did a lot of research, talked to a lot of scientists, talked to a lot of universities. The doctor we have on board today has been with us quite a few years now. He did a thesis on collagen 20 years ago, right? Crazy. So it's always been there. The Greeks been taking it hundreds of thousands of years ago. And so I found the ingredients. I then had to find a blender, right? Because I was blending in my kitchen, right? Because by that point, we were buying in.
You're not doing 5,000 a week if you do it in your kitchen.
No. But before that, so before we moved to mass, we'd looked at it and we started buying in ingredients. Because there's no way I'm going to be cooking up all that, in my kitchen. And so we started buying ingredients. I then had to find a way to mix it because when I was talking to blenders, because the Greek word for collagen is kola, which means glue. So you've got 8 grams, which is in our sachet, of powdered glue, and you put tiny drop of water, it gloops. So in my kitchen, I've blown up so many blenders. Seriously, we were all covered in collagen. It was hilarious. But I persevered. It sounds like
Gremlins.
Oh, it was very much like that, apart from white and not green. And I kept on going because I knew this product was for me and my friends. I knew if it was any more than 10 mil, I wouldn't take it. I don't want to be drinking. I just wanted something really, really easy. So I knew that I wanted it small. So when I was speaking to blenders, they went, no, it won't mix. So I was like, So I kept on persevering in my kitchen, persevering. And there was 2 things I did in my kitchen that made it work. Then when I spoke to a blender who'd been working for massive high street stores, blending bits and pieces for 25 years, he said to me, Maxine, this is a stupid formula, it will not blend. I said, you're quite right, but these are the 2 things I do. And I told him, and it was so simple. I can tell you because everyone knows now.
But you found a supplier ultimately. I mean, you're doing how much collagen? How many sachets are you doing a week or a year or hundreds and hundreds of thousands?
Absolutely loads.
So you found a supplier, one single supplier, or
Yep.
multiple suppliers?
No, we found one single. So it was a blender. Somebody blended the formula, and then the blender sent it to a sachet manufacturer. Again, we still work with both of them today. We've got really good relationships with
And
people.
having one supplier, is that something that
we
worries
don't,
you? Or?
We have two now for
Right.
obvious reasons.
Yeah.
We did have one, but we have the conversation with. They know why we have to have two. It's like any business, you need to mitigate that risk, right?
If I understand it correctly, you then moved to be marine collagen
Yep.
rather than chicken
Yep.
and pig trotters
Yep.
or whatever. Why did you do that? And
Yeah.
how did you find somewhere to get that from?
So again, talking to scientists, talking to people that had studied collagen in the past, I was taking it for hair, skin, nails, primarily for skin, and marine collagen was far superior for that part of your body. So that's why it was marine collagen. Also, at the time, bovine collagen, so it's from cows, the sustainability is pretty shocking. And that was really important to me, right? So the marine collagen...
Because the whole beef farming...
I just think you have a responsibility with a business. And we're B Corp as well. You have to... I want to stand up and be really counted and know that I've done everything absolutely spot on. So we use farm fish, and there's a reason we use farm fish, because the fish is a low feeding fish, so it feeds on the bottom, so it picks up all the heavy metals and all the rubbish. Again, with farm fish, we know what it's fed. Collagen's now a commodity, whether that is marine or bovine. When something becomes a commodity, they want to grow that animal really fast. They pump them with hormones and antibiotics. That terrifies me. It's an unregulated industry. If anyone out there wants to help me regulate it, come on, because this has got to be done.
Let's just do B Corp for a second.
Yeah.
Right, because I did quite a bit of work on climate change and carbon net zero. I mean, that's kind of the gold standard
Yep.
for any company. Right, there's not many people manage to get B Corp.
No.
How did you find that process? Because it's a great badge for you guys.
Yeah, it's just, again, it's important. I think when you're working with your family, you have to share the same morals and principles, right? So you're all on that journey together. You've got no one to fight against. You know what you want.
Yeah.
And because the Absoluta, is our North Star, and our team, we never want to let any of them down. So we needed a sort of framework to follow, right?
Yeah.
And B Corp was the one we thought, God, this looks good. So we brought somebody in who'd already worked in that field.
You understood it?
And she got us to the stage of becoming B Corp. So we brought somebody in a year before we became B Corp, and she was, she actually said to us, you're nearly there without me even trying.
Oh, right.
Which is really so exciting.
At this point in the show, we wanted to just pause for a minute and tell you about our sponsor for this series of Billionaire Business. Nets International is a global systems integrator and solutions provider with over 40 years of worldwide expertise in telecom, digital and infrastructure solutions. Nets operates in 7 countries with 3,000 plus projects delivered across 26 nations worldwide. From fibre and mobile network rollouts to enterprise IT, cloud, cybersecurity, automation and managed solutions, Nets delivers smarter, faster and scalable solutions for its customers. With over 1,000 certified and skilled professionals and their own Nets Academy, Nets not only builds infrastructure but also offers managed services and flexible resource outsourcing to help businesses scale with confidence. Recognised as Cisco's Emerging Partner of the Year and Best Fibre Services Provider in the UK, Nets International is the trusted partner driving digital transformation and leading the charge in integrated solutions worldwide. So fast forward to today, how big is the business? Give us a snapshot of the scale. And I guess what really interests me, because as you say, you weren't a spreadsheet person, you hadn't run a business before, but you've landed on a business model which is direct to market, direct to consumer. So it's high margin, it's subscription. It's got all the,
Tick boxes.
absolutely the boxes ticked, hasn't it?
For all the right reasons, though. And I think that's why, I think that's part of the success. It was never subscription to hook her in. It was never direct consumer because it made us more money. Every single thing we did was to make her life easy. I'd been hooked into a subscription myself for 6 months. I was fuming I couldn't get out, so I never wanted her to have to do that. Wanted her to commit to us by subscription, and she got the best price, but I wanted her to be able to change, cancel, move it if she goes on holiday. She needs the power. We designed the box to go through the letterbox. So again, she, because we are primarily a
easy to buy,
female,
basically.
and she doesn't have to wait
It
in.
doesn't,
She
it doesn't hang around
she
in the
doesn't
front,
have to go
outside
to
the front
post
door
office.
and get stolen.
So everything we did was to make her life easy. And there is some naivety in that. You know, it was never because this is a great business model. You know, I'm not going to sit here and pretend it was, and it wasn't. It was the purpose behind and the purpose behind the brand created all the great business model that we have that everyone tries to follow now.
And the revenue today is
30 million.
30 million,
Yeah.
which is outstanding in the space of
crazy.
a very short space
Yeah,
of time. But
so-
how big can it get, Maxine, do you think?
Oh, you know, the world's like your oyster, right? So one thing I've done with Absolute Collagen since day one, and my digital marketer would laugh, and I'd phone her up and I'd say, Tash, stop acquiring me customers. What? I just want to make sure all the systems are working because this beast is growing fast. And I'd never want her to be let down. So we did that until we took investment. So we took sorry, go on.
Yeah, so
Yeah.
that's a pretty key point. That I mean, when did you take investment, and to suddenly let somebody else in to what's fundamentally a family-controlled
Yeah.
business? Tell us that story, because that's a challenge everybody faces eventually.
Is a challenge or an opportunity or a need, right?
All of them.
For me, it was all of those. So we were doing really well. We're turning out about 15 million. I went to the Alison Rose review in 2019. I love Alison. She was delivering her findings.
Who's the NatWest CEO?
Yes. She was the NatWest CEO. The government commissioned her to where are the female entrepreneurs, where are they? So I went to see her findings, went along on my own, didn't know anybody, sat there, and she says, anyone got any questions? Bit of a theme with Maxine. So I put my hand up and I said, how do I get my bank to call me back? And she said, what do you mean? And it wasn't NatWest. And I said, I'm turning over £10 million. I just want to know if a payment's cleared. It's taken me a week. I cannot get my bank to call me back because I was self-funded. I still feel very angry about that today. I never want anyone else to go through that. So she said to me, why don't you come onto the NatWest Accelerator Programme? And I said, what's that? Went along and I said, okay, I'll come on it. And they said, what do you want to learn? And I said, I want to learn all about investment. Teach me about investment. So at the end of that 6 months, I made the decision to go for investment. The reason I went for investment was because every penny in my bank does not belong to me. It belongs to our Absoluta. How can I best serve her? She's given me a hard-earned cash, right?
Yeah.
I want to make sure she's really looked after. And the team, you know, at the time we had a team of maybe 12, 15. Now it's like 80. They've all got families. We're responsible for them. You know what that feels like. Again, never want to let them down. So it's just about making sure every single penny we spent was questioned. So it's the best thing about investment and the worst thing about investment. You'll get that.
What was that process like? I mean, from memory, at that point you must have been valued at like 40 odd million.
42.
Yeah, and you sold about a third of it from memory, something like that. Right. Was that a short process? Did you talk to lots of people? Was it enjoyable?
I loved it. I was learning. I loved it. I tell you, okay, if I tell you the story, so when I decided to go for investment, I was introduced to this guy in Birmingham, obviously not going to mention his name, and he said, yeah, I'll back you, your business is worth 5 million. I was like, oh, 5 million, that's great. Oh, it's a load of money. My God, we're worth 5 million. How about that? And I thought, I'm just going to see what else is out there. So I contacted an investment bank. And
You shall be nameless.
Brilliant investment bank. There's lots of them out there. And again, I spoke to a few, but it was about the relationship. You know, you have to find people that you get on with. And I work with founders who are going for investment, and I say to them, you have something they want. Do not go with your tail between your legs. You might not know their business, and they certainly don't know yours. It's a partnership, right? And so we worked with them for 10 months. So it was most of 2020. And we did the deal on December 2020. And so,
Which is interesting after that turbulent year of
yes,
COVID.
I know.
And you managed to get your
imagine?
process away. You were
Yeah.
still running the business
Was this
with
just
lockdown
after
and the
lockdown had
rest of it.
finished?
Yep. Mad.
Well, it was back and forth,
It was about,
wasn't it, at that stage? Yeah.
So the day we signed the deal, I spoke to my investor and I said, "Oh, my daughter's got COVID," and at the time it was still and he went, "As your investor, I should tell you to check into a hotel, but F it, she's your daughter, stay with her." And then I definitely knew I'd done the right thing.
So you then get private equity back in, right? And private equity are like every other company.
Yep.
They're all different.
Yep.
You know, some just turn it with money and that's it. Some turn it with money and loads of expertise.
Yep.
I mean, how have you found that whole experience with them?
I think in the early days it was, what do we want? So I was in a fortunate position that I never went for investment for money. That sounds
So why did
crazy.
you do it?
I went for strategy and great people around the table. Expertise is what I wanted. Yes, I'd done well, right? I didn't know if I could run a £100 million business. I didn't want to take that risk. It wasn't my money, right?
But it's someone else with you, isn't it? It's someone else in the room who you can bounce ideas off.
Absolutely. And someone checking, questioning every decision. Again, it's the worst thing about investment and the best thing about investment, right? So we have 3 or 4 offers on the table at the end of that period. We never went with the PE house that offered the most money. It was never about money, and they weren't the right fit. I do like them, by the way. And they could be right for now, but at the time, you've got to go with what's right for you at that time. We never went with the one that would grow us the fastest because it was a journey for us and we wanted to enjoy it and learn and be on that ride and have some bloody fun, for God's sake. I went with the one who was the most human. I know I could have those really awful conversations with.
At the end of the day, they're normally in for about 5 years, so it's kind of who can you live with?
Yeah,
right.
Yeah.
But also, it must have been different than having other people involved. Because you must have been used to doing whatever you and Darcy wanted, basically.
Yeah, but we needed direction, do we go international? Do we do this? It's like, do we spray paint international with all this money that's not ours? And, there just needs some strategy. And I think for us, it was about tightening the process. And I think they brought on some fantastic systems like cybersecurity, all of those things that most people actually don't have. Our systems are phenomenal. Our data house is phenomenal. We wouldn't have that if it wasn't for them. Like I say, there's things I don't like and there's things I do like. We're 5 years on. I've got a good relationship. I think from my point of view, so part of that process for me was when I spoke to the investment bank at the beginning, before we started that process, I said, I do not want to be CEO going forward. Because I was playing it, I didn't know what I was doing. And also, I hate spreadsheets, for God's sake. You've got to show I know what I'm good at and I know what I'm not good at. And actually, I'm okay with that, right? And so it's bringing in the experts to strengthen the things I'm not great at. So we brought a CEO in.
A lot of people are not that brave to say, actually, I need a boss.
Yeah, 100%.
That's what I need.
I don't know if it's brave or sensible or... people say, is it humble? I don't even think it's humble. I just think it's knowing what the business needs, right? Yeah.
So what have you learnt along the way, Maxine? I mean, what are a lot of stuff, I'm sure, but when you sit here today,
interesting,
knowing what, if you think of the Maxine 5 years ago, what's changed? What have you learnt?
What have I learned? I guess the biggest lesson I've learned is I am the brand. And what do I mean by that? I'm not the face of the brand and, oh my God, look at me. I know the consumer. I know her more than anybody in that room because I am her. And no matter how I bring people in, they can be directors, they can have wealth of degrees and experience. They don't feel it like I feel it. And I think where Absolute Collagen's at now, I leaned out when we brought a CEO in, and that was the right thing to do. As I said before, I'm one of these people that when I bring people in, if I know they're right, I have the respect and courage to hand them the reins. And that was the right thing to do. But I leaned out of the brand a little bit too much.
And are there enough absoluters in the UK? I mean, if you just take the UK market, are there enough absoluters? Because the temptation is to try and broaden your addressable market. And then when you've got a product which is so about a particular niche of customers, it becomes quite a dangerous thing to do, doesn't it?
You just feed the algorithm. And I think we've been guilty of that over the last few years. We have cast the net of digital this wide, and it's all been top of funnel, top of funnel, top of funnel. And were not, sorry, bottom of funnel, were not feeding the top of the funnel enough to get to know her, to tell her the story. And that's where I've leaned out. So I'm leaning right back in.
So you're back running the business, are you?
No, I have no desire to be CEO.
Right.
We're changing CEOs. Our CEO was only in for 4 years. We should have let her go last year and we didn't. Come on, stay a bit longer. She's brilliant. I love her. She's 63. She's phenomenal. Get on really, really well with her. She says it's the best job she ever had. Ex-Amazon vice president, put the beauty into Marks and Spencer's. Brilliant lady. But she don't want to. She's 63, so we're bringing somebody else in. I know that is, but I'm not going to say.
So where are you
Really
going to go
excited about
next?
that.
Are you still trying to grow in the UK, or are you going to try abroad?
So right now it's still the UK. We do have a bit abroad. We have got some fantastic new products coming up that I am super excited about. So again, me leaning out was the right thing and the wrong thing. I should have leaned out as CEO and stayed in. So when I say I know her, I also know what she needs. And again, trying to convince the board this because, we had a great chairman. He's gone now. Great chairman. He was I want to say P&G. Anyway,
from the consumer industry.
Yeah,
right?
and it was all about you need to do your data, you need to do your tests. And I'm like, Jesus Christ, if I'd have tested collagen, nobody wanted collagen when I started, right? So there would have been no data on that. You would not have allowed me to launch a product and look at it. So you got to trust me. I know her and I know what she needs.
Would you
It
ever
doesn't
go into
sound like-
Would you ever go into retail? I know you didn't at the start.
Yes, so we are in retail now. We are in Boots. Just gone in Boots last week. The official launch is next Friday in Battersea.
Oh wow!
Yeah.
Sorry.
That's a big step. That's a big step.
It is a big step, and it was something we thought we'd never do. And it's, again, all about her. Where does she want us to show up for her? The industry right now, because it's unregulated, is completely scary. And people trust Boots, right? And we are the biggest search brand on the Boots website that they don't stock. And we have been for a long, long time.
Wow.
Yeah, so
Congratulations on that
we
one.
are flying already
Absolutely.
in Boots. In fact, I just had an email. So, yeah, really excited about that. And they're great to work with.
So what's I'm not going to say end game because it doesn't look like you're at any
Absolutely
point
not.
of slowing down but what's the next step? I mean, you could sell the business. There's an interesting parallel, obviously many years ago, but you think of the Anita Roddick story,
Half
what an
girly.
absolutely, and what an extraordinary story that was.
phenomenal.
But she ultimately sold the business, I think, to L'Oreal, wasn't
Yeah,
it?
and it's closing all its shops.
And unfortunately, after that, the story wasn't so sunny. But is that something that you see ultimately? It's a trade exit or another private equity exit?
Do you know? I don't know, is the honest answer. The investor will want out at some point. It was going to be a 5-year maximum. They're kind of liking the journey, so they're staying with us. And we're happy with that. We could swap them out. I like them. It's working for us right now. What's the end game? And I hate saying this. There is no end game because I'm really enjoying it. And I know, and that's probably the female, and I'll probably get so told off for saying that. I'm kind of like, I do when I meet male entrepreneurs, they're very much like, right, when do you get out? When's this? And I'm like, I don't know. Let's just see what happens. I'm not saying I don't have an idea. If the right opportunity came and it was the right fit for our absoluta, because she still needs looking after, then why not? But right now, we've still got a lot to do.
Well, that's a great place to probably to end it, Maxine. Good question, isn't it? Are female entrepreneurs more wired towards doing good, let's say,
I think so.
than male entrepreneurs? What do you think, Ian?
Yeah, I think the other bit that fascinates me about this story is, yes, there's the bit about, your kids are growing up and then you started something, and that's inspiring. But also, a disproportionate number of entrepreneurs are not spreadsheet jockeys.
I agree.
They're actually salespeople.
Richard Branson.
Yeah,
Can't read one.
people who find a product and think, if I buy it
Often
at that,
dyslexic.
and I can sell it at that, then let's just do more of it. Right. So if there's one really big lesson that comes out of this, it is, don't think you have to be fantastic at numbers and spreadsheets and stuff. If in doubt, be good at selling.
Absolutely. Totally agree.
Maxine, it's been an absolute pleasure.
Thank you for having me, guys.
Thanks very much for coming in.
Oh, thank you. It's been fun.
Ian, I have to say, Maxine is an incredible entrepreneur, a real phenomenon. But above all, above anything else, she really understands her customer.
Oh, she's obsessed. I think she'd take that as a compliment, not as a criticism. But when she talks about it being the North Star, or the Absoluta, there's a great lesson for all of us, isn't there? You know, understand what your customer wants and just never, ever lose sight of that.
No, that's absolutely right. And, you know, I like the story that she launches the business. She obviously sort of creates a great product. She knows that it's a product that works, but she launches the business and nothing happens.
Oh, that story of where they launch a website and then they have to throw away the first batch because they're not sold it quick enough. But then she very quickly realises that, no, I need social media help here. And I think one of the strengths that she's got is she's very good at recognising what she's not good at.
Yeah, she is. And she's also very good at bringing in help, like the NatWest Accelerator Programme, for example.
Let's just talk about accelerator programs for a minute, because I'm not
Yeah.
sure that many people in the UK know that accelerator programs exist. And you can go and look up, there's quite a lot of them that are designed specifically for startups and scale-ups to teach you about things. You know, she went and said, what do I not know about? I know nothing about investment. 6 months later, obviously, she then she did 15 million sales and sold 30% of the business and got it valued at 42 million.
The other thing that's really fascinating about her, because she you know, she's not a spreadsheet person. She hadn't been in business previously at all, but she's ended up with the sort of perfect business model for an online business like hers. She's selling direct. I know she's into boots. She's got into boots, but you know, the bulk of the business is selling direct. It's high margin. It's internet based and it's subscription. So if you put all the things together of what is a great business in that space, she's got it.
Yeah, you and I know when you go for investment, the absolute nirvana is recurring revenue at high margins, and she's got it. Do you think that she's obviously in a massive £1 billion market, the health and beauty market. Do you think she'll scale it to the next level?
I think she's got a good chance. It is a big challenge to extend the business globally. She's got to go into new global markets if she sticks with, you know, Collagen, or she goes into adjacent markets with new, you know, adjacent verticals with new products. But she's got to do something more to get the revenue from 30 million to, say, $500 million, hasn't she?
Yeah, but I think winning boots, because it's so dominant in the UK now, will make it miles easier for her to go to another country and say, we're in the biggest retailer in the UK, do you want to do it here? So it's a great scale-up story.
I think it's got a lot further to go, and you would not bet against Maxine, would you?
No, I wouldn't.